Hello, my name is Hamish and I'm CEO of transparently.AI. We provide AI-enabled accounting manipulation and fraud prediction. We find the next Enron, the next Wirecard, the next FTX. And critically, we find these companies on average 2 to 3 years before they become public knowledge. So that's 2 to 3 years before the activist short sellers and before the wider market generally is aware that there is a problem with a company. The magnitude of the problem is enormous. More than $1 trillion a year is lost to owners, investors, suppliers, etc., as a result of accounting manipulation and fraud in the books. We provide a manipulation risk analyzer, a score of 0 to 100%, 0 being good, 100% being bad, and this is the probability of manipulation, the seriousness of that manipulation, and whether the company is likely to outright fail as a result. It's driven by 14 clusters of characteristics that you can see here, things like corporate governance, cash quality, business manipulation, and roughly 150 or so models underlying those. We provide access to our clients to a cloud-hosted B2B SaaS service. We have a multi-tier subscription model and enterprise solutions. This provides manipulation risk screening tools and various score analytics. By way of example, you can see here we provide search functionality. You can search roughly 80,000 companies around the world by country, sector, exchange. You can even search by auditor. You can search by active or delisted status. So in other words, you can go back and look at dead stocks, and you could look at any year in history for those companies. You can also upload and download your own portfolios for monitoring purposes. We also provide various analytics, such as dollar estimates of predicted stakeholder losses, the full history of manipulation risk for a company, so you can go back in time and see what the score looked like in past years and the drivers of those scores, and also manipulation risk relative to the market and relative to the company's peers. This is the killer app, fully automated forensic accounting. For any of the 80,000 companies that we cover, and for any financial year for those companies that is included in this system, you can press a button and in 2 to 3 seconds get a full forensic report that could be anything up to 25 to 30 pages long. That forensic report will provide you with detailed analysis describing all the parts of the accounts the system is finding there are problems, alerting you to what questions you should be asking management, the kinds of areas that you should be investigating further, etc. So the equivalent would be if you wanted to investigate a company, you would normally hire a forensic accounting team or a research team. They would spend a few weeks to a month or even more to analyze that company. Instead, this company, as I mentioned, you press a button and you get the report in 2 to 3 seconds. Here's a quick example. Sunrun in the US. Back in 2016 to 2018, our system said there was an 80 to 85% manipulation risk score. In the context of this system, it's a very high number indeed. It wasn't until several years later that Muddy Waters announced a short position, and the stock subsequently fell substantially. And this is a pattern that we see time and time again. Our system flags a company very early on as having problems within the accounts, and then it's several years later that the market, or for example, the activist short sellers, begin to become aware of issues. In terms of customer benefits, there's obviously direct benefits such as loss avoidance and profit enhancement, indirect benefits such as the competitive advantage using a system like this, productivity benefits, as I mentioned, turning a month's work on one company into 2 to 3 seconds for any company, and reputation protection. For anyone caught on the wrong side of these companies, it can be deeply embarrassing, very painful, and clearly, therefore, reputation protection is a major issue. Our target market segments include banks and investment managers, regulators and exchanges, auditors, and executives and boards. In addition, even individual investors could utilize a system like this to identify these deeply problematic companies significantly in advance. Here we see a small sample of the people involved in the business. My background includes 30 years plus in financial markets, principally building quant and strategy teams. I'm the lead developer of the core algo underlying the system, and I'm an adjunct professor at Singapore Management University. Mauro, our co-founder and CTO, is a true global leader in cloud technology. Most recently, he was Google's Asia Pacific CTO, formerly head of AI and cloud at IBM, and formerly head of Amazon Web Services for the region. Jermaine has a great deal of experience in audit, in particular internal audit, so she's dotting our I's and crossing our T's. And Tim is the former Global Head of Forensics for Deloitte and Director of Enforcement for the Australian regulator ASIC. So this is just a small example of the sort of people involved, but I think it highlights the deep domain expertise that we have in this business. To sum up, we are the G in ESG. ESG investing, obviously very important. We believe we are the world's first global quantification of accounting manipulation activity, and therefore, essentially, this is a governance model. And we would argue if you don't have the G, you're not going to have the E and the S. As I mentioned before, we provide a very early warning signal, 2 to 3 years plus ahead of the market on average. And we provide 95% plus productivity gains for forensic analysis. So we're increasing the productivity of your research team, empowering them and bringing out the best in their skills. We also already have over 100 registered users with financial assets of approximately $4 trillion US. So we already have clients amongst some very large global institutions. Please feel free to get in touch with us. Please scan this QR code. That will take you to our LinkedIn page. Please feel free also to look at our webpage and get in touch with us for more information. And that is transparently.ai.